We are going through the book of James, and James, again, he deals with real issues in our lives. And today, he's going to deal with our tongue and our mouth. And the man that, y'all all heard the Nobel Peace Prize, the man that started that actually invented dynamite. And when he invented it, was for making roads, moving rocks through, so that they can make tunnels and stuff like that. Well, when people realized its power, it began to be made for weapons of war. Well, he wasn't fond of this. So he took $9 million and he set it aside. He started what we know as the Nobel Peace Prize. And our mouth is the same way. It can be used to build up, or it can be used to tear down. And the Bible's going to deal with that today and confront us all. And let's go to the Lord in prayer, and then we'll jump right into Scripture. So if you go to James chapter 3, and the doctor, one of the things that helps us examine our faith. You remember how the doctors usually they say, open your mouth, say "I," and they'll examine your tongue to try to get to assess how you are. Well, that's kind of what's happening here. One of the things we're getting is an assessment on our faith based on our tongue. Now, some of us, I know sometimes, if you like me, you might struggle with that sometimes. So it says, "My brethren, let not many of you become teachers, knowing that we shall receive a stricter judgment." Now this isn't just starting out. These are the words that we're teaching, like what I'm doing now. Pastor Jimmy threw out an invitation to some of you to consider becoming Sunday school teachers. This isn't to discourage someone who is called or to stepping out, but what you need to understand, that as a teacher of the Word, we are subject to a stricter judgment. That every idle word that I represent or misrepresent, I will answer to God for. I will, if I fail to practice what I'm preaching or what I'm teaching, I will answer to God for. If those that stand there and say, "Lord, I will wield your sword, I will take it into battle," I'm going there, and then you need to understand there's a stricter judgment. So if you don't want to just get excited, "Oh, I'll teach it, somebody needs to teach it, I'll do it. You need to make sure it's what God is wanting you to do, and then step up and take it and understand, just like any other responsibility that you take, that there is, I think it was Spider-Man's uncle that said, "With great power comes great responsibility." I think Uncle Ben said that. But anyway, my son would appreciate that one. But we need to remember that there's a stricter judgment. So it's not discouraging you from doing it. You just need to understand the weight that it carries. It says, "For we all stumble in many things. If anyone does not stumble in word, he is a perfect." That word also is translated mature man, able also to bridle the whole body. "Indeed, we put bits in the horses' mouths that they may obey us, and we turn their whole body." Look also at the ships. Although they are so large and are driven by fierce winds, they are turned by a very small rudder, wherever the pilot desires. Even so, the tongue is a little member and boasts great things. See how great a forest a little fire kindles. How many of you know that your tongue can get you in more trouble than anything else you can? I mean, you notice all the husbands kind of went up quicker. They're like, "Yep, I know." And but our tongue. There's times that once those words have come out, and you can't catch them. It don't matter how quick your brain says, "Y'all not said that," you can't get it back in. And so our tongue gets us in so much trouble. And to challenge that, to challenge the tongue, if you can bridle the tongue, the Bible says you are a mature believer. Now, I got a lot of growing to do. Sometimes we do get better. We do see some things are better than others. Well, in 1875, y'all heard of the Great Chicago Fire. Legend has it that Mrs. O'Leary's cow kicked over a lantern. It burnt over $175 million worth of property damage. Over 250 people were killed. The fire burned for 3 days, over 3.5 square miles. I mean, over a cow kicking over a lantern. Like that little lantern up there. Your tongue will get something started all the time. A misquote, or sometimes not even a misquote. Maybe it's just something we didn't need to say. Might just be something that, you know, we heard a little bit of juicy gossip, or we heard somebody did something, and you know they're going to be as appalled at it as you are that they did it, so it's our duty to make sure we tell everybody what they did. And a lot of times we just start fires. And I'm going to tell you, sooner or later, these fires have to be reckoned with. Now, it may be, and it ends like it should, where we come to a time where the two get together, and there's a reconciliation, there's a forgiveness, things are taken care of. Most of the time, that doesn't happen. Most of the time, what happens is we lay a bedrock down, and it just goes, and it begins to create a wound, and then it gets calloused over, and there's always some underlying thing that's there that was never resolved under the blood of Christ. And many times that's how we do. We just let things go. But it starts such a fire. Many of us are given the opportunities when stuff is brought to us that we can respond in a way to shut it down. We can respond in a way that doesn't pass it on. We can let it know that we're not really receiving that. So we have those opportunities. God always gives us an opportunity not to sin. He promises that in 1 Corinthians 10:13. That with the temptation, He always gives us a route of escape. So God always gives us a way out. And sometimes we have to just go, you know what, I don't even need to know the details. This is how polite you can be in doing this. You can say, I don't even need to know the details. You know what, I'll be praying for that situation. You can do that. And you're not starting a fire there. If anything, you're fire control. Now, we as good Baptists, we don't gossip. We prayerfully share so we know how to pray. Right? Yeah, that's what we do. We're not gossiping. I'm just telling you all the intricate details so you know how to pray more specifically. We're gossiping. You know, and we need to make sure that we back off of that. We need to make sure that, you know what, Lord, help me to control this tongue that you've given me. Because, I mean, once we see the horses, we got a horse out here called Faith, that she is fast. She don't like to stop. And AJ started riding her this week, and I think they actually put a Hackamore on her. You can't use a Hackamore on Faith because she don't stop with a Hackamore. And she's like, oh, good, my choice. What she likes is the broken snaffle, and she'll stop with a broken snaffle. But a lot of our tongues, we just got a halter and a lead rope, don't we? We just let that thing run with all we want to do. And there is no control. And what it's telling us is a horse is a great, mighty animal, and we'll take a little piece of 6-inch metal or stainless steel or whatever, and we'll control that animal with that. We will get that animal to where that animal, we'll control, make its wheels submit to ours by controlling this one thing. They had a boat I was looking at, it was over 83 tons, 830 tons, and the rudder was 140 tons. 1/10. There's like less than 2/10 of the weight of the ship. And it controlled that big thing. Now, you might be a big old fella, and you might be strong, and you might have a good reputation, but your tongue can undo that in just a few minutes.
Amen.
And man, it can, I don't know about you, but I went home at night sometimes and would reevaluate some of the things I said during the day, like, why did I say that? I have left this pulpit, and sometimes my wife will help me and say, well, why did you say that? But there are times that mouth just runs. And the Bible gives us a warning that of the danger that goes with just letting it run. And it tells us that no man, listen, it says verse 6, and the tongue is a fire, a world of iniquity. It means it's a bunch of trouble. A world of iniquity. The tongue is so set among our members that it defiles the whole body and sets on fire the course of nature, and it is set on fire by hell. For every kind of beast and bird and reptile and creature of the sea is tamed and has been tamed by mankind, but no man can tame the tongue. It is an unruly evil full of deadly poison. With it we bless our God and Father, and with it we curse men who have been made in the similitude and the likelihood of God. And that's the trick. We can make dolphins perform. I mean, man, dolphins. You can go up and you watch some of the stuff they do on TV where they'll take these great man-eating sharks and they'll get them turned over on their belly and they got them in control. But you can't control your tongue. Have you ever come to the point where you said, I can't see the words without these, but I can't hardly look at y'all with these, so I'm still learning how to do that. Have you ever been to the point where you said, Lord God, my mouth is an issue, I'm going to stop it, I need your help, and you go back and no sooner have you run into somebody and you say, oh, and you won't believe so-and-so did. And you get in there and you get involved, and it's so easy to get into those conversations, isn't it? Isn't it? And you leave and you go, Lord, I did it again. And then if you haven't been there, I need tutoring. Please help me, because this is something every human I know we struggle with, and we do. And I think that's why the Bible puts it so point blank. It says, listen, on your own, you can't tame it. You can't tame it on your own. But with Christ and the submission unto Him, you can. Lee Brandon, when he got baptized, stuck his tongue out when he got baptized. He did. He said, I know it's just symbolic. He said, but I struggle with it. He wanted to make sure that thing got what it needed. And he said, and it's tough. I'm glad, because you had to put your hand right up their face. I'm kind of glad I didn't do that one. But anyway, but you think about that. And he wanted to make sure I'm putting that tongue is an issue. And those, we need to understand, the tongue is an issue, and it defiles the whole body. But I go to church all the time. I teach Sunday school. I'm a pastor. I witness to folks. Get diarrhea in the mouth, don't you? And it just runs. And we just go on, and we start fires, and we cause trouble, and we don't know how to do it. I'm telling you, we got to start thinking before we start speaking. And not only thinking with a human mind, but with a holy mind, which is the mind of Christ, and say, Lord, put this mouth under submission to your word. And when you do that, I'm going to tell you, you're going to find out you ain't going to say near as much as you used to. That's a fact. You think all the words that we say that don't need to be said. I had one boy, God forgive me, he's doing real good right now, and he actually told me to tell y'all, he's in rehab this week, and he called me out once a week. He said, tell them I love them. Tell them just keep praying for them. He's got 6 more months to go. And this is a true story, and God knows, so I'll share it with y'all. He used to talk non-stop. I don't know that he knew he could breathe without talking. And I told him one time, I didn't claim it was in the Bible, but I did tell him that you only had a certain number of words, and the quicker you used them, the shorter your life was going to be. He was a teenager. He believed it for a couple of years, and then he realized, hey, I don't think that's true. I said, well, hey, you can't blame a guy for trying, right? But I think we would say a lot less if we said what was necessary or edifying. And edifying means to build up. And you ask yourself, do I spend, take an evaluation right now, kind of like when Dr. would ask yourself, do I spend most of my words building up, or do I spend most of my words tearing down? That's a question. It's a realistic question. You know, when we come to that and we say, do I start fires? Because when it talks about setting the course of nature, that there's a time when you have to let fires burn. And they'll go and they burn themselves out. A lot of times we start things with our mouth that's going to run a course. It's going to have consequences. Sometimes we get the idea that if I tear somebody else down, it illuminates me in your sight and makes me look better. I will never build the foundation of my house by throwing dynamite at yours. Do you understand that? I will never build the foundation of my house by throwing dynamite at yours. What needs to happen is, I've got to find out how to bring this tongue into submission. Some of us need some of them big training bits. You know what I mean? I mean, man, a little bit around pen time, a little bit of training. I mean, we need some help. Because we got to get this thing under control. And you know, when you look at a lion, it talks about taming a lion, and you'll see people at circuses, some crazy fellow will stick his head in the mouth of that lion. Because he's tamed. But the Bible says you can't tame your tongue. We know it's true. If you live with your tongue, you know it's true. You can't tame your tongue. And it's gotten worse, because I'm not just talking about your physical tongue, I'm talking about our communication. In this day and age, in the social media world, we even got worse, because we're not sitting there with you. And it used to be that you and I as individuals knew how to have a conversation. We could read each other. We could get to a point where even if it didn't agree, we could still talk, and we could reach some level of understanding where we still respected one another. But now we're safe in our own rooms. We're not there with you. We read in mentally things that aren't there, and it just becomes this explosion of emotion, and we say things that ought not be said, and we lose all sense of communication. And it becomes something, and we start a lot of fire on Facebook. You know that? I've got where I've unfollowed so many folks just because the little fires want them to get started. We want to have a real conversation. Let's have a real conversation. But if it's just point, jab, and this, that, and that, I got no need for it. I'll sit and talk with you all day. I ain't got no need to get stressed out over what you're drawing. Or somebody I ain't even sitting there talking to, you know? And I think one of the things, we start so many fires on social media, we start so many fires with our mouths and our things. But any type of communication, not just verbally what we say, but how we communicate, we start fires. And we've got to bring that in control of the Lord Jesus Christ. The remedy for our rebellious tongue, I've got a couple things. One, the first one is Christ and our submission to Him. Remember we talked about last week that faith without works is dead? This is where we say it. This is where it also continues. This isn't just a string of pearls neatly connected together. This is following along because I realized that, okay, I have been set free. I'm not a slave to the gossiping of my mouth that I enjoy doing so much. And it's so easy to do. So I get to the point where I say, all right, I'm not a slave to this. Lord Jesus, I believe that. So now I've got the faith. And what did He say? Show me your faith without your works, and I'll show you my faith by my what? Works. I will show you what I believe, because I'm going to take the faith, Lord Jesus, that you have given, and I'm going to put it into action, because now what's going to happen, I'm going to put my tongue into submission to Christ. This is putting faith in action. That's the first thing we do. He's empowered us to have power over the tongue. The second thing, and you look at Galatians 5:23 when we talked about one of the fruits of the Spirit last week, it was self-control. Man, there's times that there's things we want to say that don't need to be said. That's a fact. I don't care who you are. There's times there's things we want to say that we need to put self-control. That is one of the fruits of the Spirit. If you are a blood-bought, born-again child of God, and the Holy Spirit dwells within you, then that is in the list of the fruits of the Spirit in Galatians chapter 5. It is present within you. Stop suppressing it and let it run. Have some self-control. Give God control of what's going on. The next one is number 3. Pray that daily the Lord will keep us from gossip and unkind speech. That's the man you get up and say, Lord, you know that on my own I am prone to run this mouth. You know I am. On my own I am prone to run this mouth. I am prone to get out there and gossip, and I'm to repeat what I've heard and say things that I don't need. And you know I'm going to want to do it. Lord, I'm asking you to keep me from that. Lord, let me hear loud and clear when it's time to shut up. I need your help, Lord. And it'll keep you from unkind speech. When that moment comes up where you have the opportunity and to just tear somebody down, to bridle it, to put it in submission and say, Lord God, help me to honor you in what I do. These are real things we're facing. This is what I was telling you last week, when I was telling you the last few weeks when the book of James is so real that it's so in our face. It's just like, look guys, these are the things you're dealing with. Number 4, don't talk unfavorably about anyone. 1 Peter chapter 4 verse 8 says, for love covers a multitude of sin. If I have the love of Christ and I start looking for ways, how can I love them? How can I minister to them? Look, you may be a super mature Christian, okay? And there may be somebody that's sitting by you that's not a Christian yet, or maybe they're a new believer and they're not where you're at. And believe me, they're probably more aware of their faults than you are. And it may be that they need you and I, instead of going, well, when they get to the level we're at, we'll accept them a little better. Maybe they need us to get over that, and they need us to come alongside them and say, hey, let me encourage you a little bit today. Maybe that's what they need. Maybe that's the love of Christ that they need, because the devil is very happy when we say something like, I can't believe what they. We start running it down and we just beat them down. And we never are grateful that they were here to hear the gospel. And the devil enjoys that when we beat them down. But when we become as Christ and we reach where they're at, and even when Christ was sitting there talking to people, they didn't have a clue, but they would kind of get a little bit of it. And Jesus said, you're not far from the truth. That's encouraging. Because I'm okay knowing, maybe I'm getting closer. Maybe I'm not far from it, I got it. But when they just say, you're just an idiot. Well, that's not so encouraging. And there's a difference in how we bring that about. There's a difference in what we do with our mouth. Just like the dynamite, we have the ability to build up. We have the ability to tear down. But love covers a multitude of sin. If you're meeting me where I'm at and you're coming alongside of me, I know I've messed up. I know I've made mistakes in my past. I get that. But you meeting me where I'm at and helping me carry on is different from just constantly bringing them up. And that's what we need to remember when we're ministering to people, is to watch that tongue, because, man, it will just run wild if we're not careful. Number 5, if you got a problem with somebody, go to them directly. Matthew 18 tells us that. Yeah, there's no reason. You don't have to come to tell me that you're going to them. That's put add an extra step, ain't it? If there's a problem between two people, the Bible says you are to go to them. And then if they don't receive it, you go to them with a witness. Then if they don't receive it, then you involve the church. That's what the Bible says. But what we do is we go to Facebook, we go here, we go there. Before you know it, what happens inevitably is sides get chosen, and something that should have been handled between two people now becomes a division in God's church. That's how it happened. But when we biblically handled it, and we go to them and say, listen, brother, I got to tell you, I got an issue with this. And we sit down and we're controlling our tongues, and we're meeting in love and on common ground for the cause of Christ. You know who's the only one that gets the glory from that? Jesus. That's it. Because if I build my side up and I say, well, I'll tell you what, I did this and that, David did, boy, David's a good old boy, and they did this. And you know who's getting the glory from that? There's two getting the glory from it, Satan and me. And whoever I'm arguing with, Satan and him. So who gets the glory on both sides? Satan. But when we go to each other together with our tongue in control, and we honor Jesus and say, brother, I don't like this, and we need to talk about this, Jesus gets the glory. That's where we come in that reality, and we go to each other. Number 6, you need to understand there's some things that are better left unsaid. If it's going to build somebody up, sometimes, I'm talking, you speak truth, there's sometimes it hurts. And you hear what needs to be said, and that's okay. When the guy, Jeff from Duck Dynasty, he had gotten into drugs and was running around. You can go to the I Am Second and watch his video on it. He had pulled away from the Lord and the family and everything with the family. They went out one day and they found out where his truck was at, and said, we'll see you tomorrow at Mom and Dad's, 9 o'clock. And he said the next morning at 9 o'clock he drove up there, and he said all of his brother's trucks were there, his dad was there, and they called him out and they said, listen, you know, you claim to be a believer and you're doing all these things, and son, we love you, but you're going to have to make a decision. You're going to choose the world and Satan, or you're going to choose Jesus and his family. But we're going to love you, but we're not going to let you go home like you go. This is your ultimatum. He said he got down on his knees in the middle of the floor and he said, what took y'all so long? And they put him in basically a rehab. He didn't go nowhere for 90 days or whatever. Daddy and them, they just invested in him for the cause of Christ, and he shares that testimony. So there are times that the truth can be confrontational. That's why folks didn't like Jesus. He was very much, this is the truth. I'm going to confront you with the truth. But Jesus confronts you with the truth. On October the 15th, 1990, Jesus confronted me with the truth that I was a sinner, lost and undone without him, and headed to a devil's hell. And he confronted me with the truth, but that he was willing to save me. That he had paid the price for me. That was confrontational. Thank God for the confrontation. But you know what? It was a confrontation that was bent on being edifying, because it built me up. That's what you and I need when the kind of ministry and the tongue that you and I are to have, it needs to be edifying. And if you look at going down here to verse 9, it says, talk about our tongue. With it, we bless our God. And with it we curse men who have been made in the similitude of God. Man, we'll pray all day long. Oh, Lord Jesus, we'll sing those songs. We'll get in our vehicle, we'll be praising. Did you see what so-and-so had on church? Oh, I can't even believe they weren't at church. We just get to beat each other down. Or did you hear what so-and-so did? I tell you what, I was sitting in this movie, and I looked down there, and I seen so-and-so from the church right there. This movie's rated R. I can't even believe that was there. Think about that in just a minute now. And we do that. Oh, praise you, God. Oh, praise you, God. Oh, I can't stand those so-and-so. and we do that with the same mouth. And it asks the question, it says, does a spring send forth fresh water and bitter from the same opening? If I was to take a canteen and fill it with half salt water and half fresh water and say, here, only drink the fresh water. You can't do it. You can't do it. And that's the thing. When somebody comes and they look at me, if I'm running my mouth about everybody and their brother, but then I'm praising Jesus, what they're getting is tainted. It don't work. And we wonder why people look at our testimonies and they don't believe us. They don't have that impact. Because we're talking out of both sides of our mouth. But the water's tainted. I think there are some days, and I believe this, I think there are some days I leave loaded with fresh water, and I think there's other days that I leave loaded with salt water. You know? And the thing about it is, so some days I think I might do both. Well, think about it now. If I fill up that morning with both, I've tainted everything else. Because when it talks about starting that fire on the course of nature, you can guarantee what goes out of your mouth, you'll be amazed who finds out about it. You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed how it carries on. You'll be amazed how long they remember it. And you got to ask us, we must decide which one we're going to be serving. Are we serving fresh water, which is the gospel of truth and love and edification, it's for building up? Or are we serving the detrimental bitterness of iniquity and evil and destructive rams? Boy, I can get on the rant. You know that? I mean, those who know me know I can get on the rant. We had one time we had a young man that he had done something that just made me so mad, and I was just irate. And Jimmy could tell it. And Jimmy was like, "You want me to handle this?" And I said, "Okay." He writes this letter that builds this guy up. Man, you are a valued member of this team, and we appreciate you, and all this other stuff, and lays this guy out. You read the first paragraph, you're thinking, he's fitting to get an award. And then he gets in the second paragraph, and he's like, however, in dealing with this situation, that we don't feel your judgment was where it was needed to be, and these were the detrimental. And he lays this stuff out, and then he goes into the third paragraph, and is building him up again, and just encouraging him to excel elsewhere, and it's just, I'm like, wow, you know? And he just handled that so well. And I'm like, I don't know that. I think he gave the military some credit for that, but I don't know, because it was sweet. I mean, if I ever get reprimanded, I want to be reprimanded like that. You know, I mean, it was an edifying letter. The way that he built up, but he dealt with the situation. It was for the edification. I was more in line with the detrimental bitterness of iniquity and evil destructive ran at that moment. We've got to figure out which one we serve, because it's not just fresh or salt, it's God or Satan. Who am I using my tongue for today? And when we get to that point, we ask those questions, it's going to put a guard. It's going to make me think about what it is that what I'm fixing to say, does it need to be said? And then this is the threefold test I'm going to give you. Number one, is it true? You say, oh, it was true. I said it was true. I know it's true, so it's okay to say it. Stay with me. Okay? Number one, is it true? Man, you hang around a bunch of Baptists, and I'm sure other denominations is the same way. You'll get more half-truths and things like that spread about. By the time you get done to it, there'll be there's a hurricane coming when it was sprinkling. And if you're not careful, that's what you'll get. And you got to stop and wait a minute. Hold on. I want to ask myself, is it true? Am I stating the fact? Is it kind? Number three, is it necessary? Number four, am I handling it in a way that is edifying? Is it building up? Or am I starting a fire that somebody's going to have to put out? You need to ask yourself those four things. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? necessary? Is it edifying? You need to ask yourself those questions. Psalms 141 verse 3 says, set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. Some of us need double duty, don't we? Lord, put a guard, write that down, Psalm 141 verse 3. Set a guard, O Lord, over my mouth. Keep watch over the door of my lips. That, in a nutshell, in the New Redneck Version, Lord, help me to shut up. That's what it says. And Lord, help me to be quiet. Psalms 19:14 said, let the words of my mouth and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight, O Lord, my strength and my redeemer. Psalms 19. Let my words and the meditation of my heart be acceptable in your sight. I tell you what, you can forget all the other things that I just threw out. You can say the one thing, Lord, is what I'm about to say acceptable in your sight? Is what I'm about to say acceptable in your sight? Forget all the 1, 2, 3, 4 things I gave you. Because look, if it's acceptable in the sight of the Lord, it's going to be edifying. If it's acceptable in the sight of the Lord, it's going to be necessary. It's going to be kind, and it's going to be true. So you can go back to that one scripture, Lord, is it acceptable in your sight? Because God hears every word, even what you don't say. And that's scary. But He does. When we think about all the trouble, all the things that we can get into with our mouth, and our tendency to let it run. And if we're honest, we'll admit that. We have, I have left meetings that honestly, that were supposed to be for edifying purposes, and I have left feeling dirty. Because we probably said things or talked about things the way it shouldn't have been talked about. I don't mean bad, because I'm just talking about situations. Or I'm not sure that we edified each other. The way that we talk, or the way that we dismiss. And you can't, people that like to throw mud, you can't stay clean while you throw it. It's impossible. That's why James, and one time I preached this book of James years ago, and I only did one sermon on the tongue, because I thought, well, we dealt with the tongue just a few verses back. And I think you can deal with the tongue just about every time, and we still have to go to the altar of the Lord and say, oh God, forgive me, I'm still struggling. So today as you go out, and today as you evaluate your speech, you evaluate your tongue. Next week we're going to deal with wisdom. Wisdom that's from above, wisdom that's from below. We live in a world with a lot of knowledge, but there's very little wisdom. Next week we're going to learn a little bit about the difference of that. Take evaluation of your tongue. Are you a mature believer? Do you control your tongue through Christ? I think sometimes, even those of us that consider ourselves mature, we stumble a little bit. We were, April and I went out to eat Friday night, and I'll get whooped for telling this, but that's all right, I've been week before. Friday night, we went to an eating establishment, and we sat down. They brought me my salad. We went through this long ordeal, got our little appetizers and stuff. And then the tables that are coming around us got their food and everything. Finally, our waitress had come back by and found out, look, where's our meals at? We had to go, I'll go get them. And they brought them out, brought them. And she said, well, I'm going to pay for your meal. And anyway, over 2 hours that we were at the restaurant. And I'm married. God has worked in this woman right here, because there have been years past in our marriage where we have turned around to go back to a McDonald's because they put onions on something they ought not to. By goodness. And but I sat there and I shared this with her, and I was like, you just completed my sermon for Sunday right now. And but anyway, I sat there and the waitress come back and she's all apologetic, and April said, let me ask you something. And I went, oh no. and I said, and I just got done studying James, so I'm like, oh, this is awesome. And she said, it's good when you show up in an example in a sermon this way, okay? And anyway, she said, she asked her some details about it. She said, I want you to know you're forgiven. It's okay. it happens. And I was like, yeah, like, she done read my sermon notes. She's doing fine, you know. Now, like me, that was the Holy Spirit in her. Okay, I can't take credit for that. But boy, she did. She was like, and then she looked at me, and I'm still kind of like. And I'm thinking, yeah, we're on that show. What would you do? But she said, God's brought me a long way. I said, yeah, amen. Yeah. Because I'm thinking, look, we're in the back corner. We're nowhere near the escape door, so I got to get all the way to the front. You know? But then, you know, let me tell you what she done after that. She wrote the gospel down on the back of the receipt. And she told her that, you know, if my Lord Jesus can forgive me for sinning, I can forgive you for messing a meal up. And she shared that with her, wrote the scripture down. I was like, I'm married to that woman. You know, I was like, that's awesome. But we got those, that's the reality. We all get those opportunities. We all get those opportunities when, yes, you have every right to say, every human right, to say, let me tell you something. And go bulldoze right through that moment. Or you have the moment where you can show grace and exemplify the love of Christ. We don't do that so well all the time, do we? And I think that's what we need to remember. Lord, is my conversation acceptable in your sight? This week, probably this day, you'll have the opportunity to end some conversations. You'll have the opportunity to start some conversations. I encourage you to respect your faith by your tongue. And say, Lord, is this acceptable in your sight? Let us all seek the Lord in that. Let's pray.